Welcome to In Frame Out's Year in Film, where we take stock of 12 months of spectacular cinema and unfortunate rubbish. To anyone under the impression that this year didn't have much in the way of knockout must-see cinema, I present to you a small, personal taste of the sheer brilliance you could find in the multiplexes, art houses, and home streaming services over the last 12 months. Annoyingly, some of the most well-regarded releases of the year haven't come out over in the UK yet. God, I want to see The Lighthouse so much I can taste it. But we were in no way short of incredible works to choose from. To start things off, here are entries 10 through 6 of our best films of 2019.
When you look straight ahead, what do you see?
Nothing. Nothing vertical, only the horizon.
Must be very comforting.
What? What did you say? I couldn't hear you.
I said it must be comforting to be cut off from the world like that.
One of the biggest surprises of the year came in the form of this short, bittersweet animated journey through the streets of Paris, from the perspective of a severed human hand. I Lost My Body is a tale split in two. Half tells the tragicomic formative experiences of a young man, with all his extremities still intact. The other half cuts forward to his now lopped-off appendage trying to find its way home. Think of it like the brave little toaster crossed with Thing from the Addams Family. There's a near fetishistic emphasis on the tactile rapport we share with our surroundings, and how the sensation of touch informs and bonds to our memories. The texture of piano keys, the rumbling vibration of handlebars, the signature grain of something you've carved and crafted, each catalogued experience is expressed vividly by the gorgeous, jittery hand-drawn animation here. Romance, be it in the traditional sense or as an optimistic outlook, is a constant tug-of-war between free will and determinism, where the slightest flick of the wrist can irreparably alter your life in unknowable ways, while our grandest designs are subject to the whims and wants of everyone with a part to play. We're given the choice to hurt or heal, to hold close, or push away. I Lost My Body knows the immeasurable value of things we rarely stop to notice, that nevertheless form our connection with the world.
Name one person whose life was so much better because they broke a couple of rules.
Picasso.
He broke art rules. Name a person who broke a real rule.
Rosa Parks.
Name another
Susan B. Anthony.
God damn it.
There's a lot to be said for a piece of art that instills you with a halo of comforting nostalgia for a life you've never actually experienced. In this instance, the last days of high school in the life of two overachieving young women. Assured and energetic direction from Olivia Wilde, and joyously watchable scene stealing across the entire cast make this my favourite outright comedy of the year, but what solidifies it as one of the best films period is just how much it speaks to the here and now without ever excluding those out with its age demographic. So perfectly realised is the timeless central friendship of Booksmart and all the ensuing escapades of their final hurrah, I felt a very personal stake in their hopes and hijinks. Whether it's the formative, embarrassing sexual encounters of Amy, or Molly coming to terms with life as an individual defined neither by the grade she gets or the company she keeps, it felt honest even at its most unbelievable, and intimately true to my youth, even as far as it diverged from anything approaching my own life. Booksmart is positive, representative, and uproariously funny, with enough smarts and spirit to win over even the most miserable of us.
Are you not disturbed by what we just saw?
Yeah, of course I am. That was really, really shocking.
Ari Aster shrugs off the faintest hint of a sophomore slump with his second full-length feature in as many years. While still vaguely in the same wheelhouse as the harrowing horror found in Hereditary, Midsommar embraces colour, daylight and community arts and crafts, as if to say, if we manage to make telephone poles and clicking tongues scary, you bet your ass we can do the same for flowers in the world's worst retirement party. As I discussed at length in a video not long ago, which you can watch by clicking the link in the bio below, there's a knowing, nasty humour at play here that I think has gone unappreciated by many who are quick to call it a breakup movie or a Wicker Man homage. Look past the squabbling asides and weirdo rituals, and there's a lot of twisted, referential fun to be had, from staging the entire thing as a cliché slasher in new age attire, to the ludicrous turns towards out-of-step cults and blind conformity. Aster is oddly playful as he prods and picks away at these arrogant Americans and their practically suicidal obliviousness to their own impending doom. With his small but unimpeachable track record, Astor stands alongside Robert Eggers as one of the most visceral and exciting minds in English language horror.
He was the best of us. Imagine the things he saw. Imagine.
In 2016, writer and director James Gray led viewers deep into the recesses of prideful ambition and soul-eating hubris with his sorely underappreciated The Lost City of Zed. His latest effort may at first seem like populist repositioning, an A-list vehicle set for the stars. Rest assured, neither Gray nor Brad Pitt offer any such fealty to popcorn conventions or set-piece spectacle. Ad Astra is to science fiction blockbusters what Apocalypse Now was to the flag-waving war epic. It's a Trojan horse. Inside its familiar shell, where a man sets out on a perilous journey to track down his missing father, there swirls the transcendental possibilities of exploration and introspection. The definition of distance, the implications of technological reach, the bonds of both natural and nurtured influence, all spore and spread through every pursed lip moment of restrained dialogue and ponderous prayer-like voiceover. It's worth noting how much some people hate the use of narration throughout, and while I didn't have an issue with it, it's worth acknowledging that some people do. The fact that the studio behind Alvin and the Chipmunks rolled the dice on a $100 million philosophical science fiction piece that's more concerned with the vacuum of loneliness than space pirates on the moon practically demands joyous bewilderment. In a year where Aniara and High Life made their low-key post-Solaris notches on the asteroid belt, Ad Astra finds something deeply human in the vast, endless unknown.
Don't you ever try and protect me.
But you were trying to protect me.
It is not the same thing.
Barry Jenkins continues to prove himself as one of the most empathetic and assured champions of those denied representation within contemporary American cinema. Whereas Moonlight tenderly broached an LGBTQ+ coming-of-age story within an African-American community, If Beale Street Could Talk is a ballad for the victims of systemic racism, false imprisonment, not to mention the domestic and economic hardships faced by persons of colour in 1970s New York. Shot with lush autumnal tones by James Laxton and generously woven together with Nicholas Britell's finest score to date, everything serves the simple complexities of James Baldwin's original novel. The physical and spiritual divides between men and women in crisis, the vices and virtues we inherit from our environment and upbringing, and, at its centre, taking shelter in love as the avalanche of hate rains down upon you. There's certainly a deft and deeply felt sincerity with every poetic passage and pregnant pause, just as there are unexpected and gracious moments of joy that outright reject the despair of the setting. If Beale Street Could Talk welcomes each reprieve with an embrace of glowing, celebratory warmth. And that was the first half of our list of the best films of the year. Join us next week for entries 10 through 6 of our worst films of 2019. Special shout out to our Patreon producers Nicholas Leigh Revere, Jennifer C, and Claire MD, and a drunken dance around the mistletoe to all our patrons who help support the channel. What are your favourite films of the year? Do you agree or disagree with my assessment of these films? Respectfully let us know in the comments, or feel free to guess what's going to be in the top 5. Make sure to check out the channel for any videos in this series you've missed, and for the gift that keeps on giving with reviews, our own Discord, and your name in the credits, check out our Patreon at the link in the description below. Until next time, this is In Frame Out.